The 2025 NHL Draft is likely going to be a bit weaker of a class compared to the previous couple of seasons, but there is a defenseman at the top of the list who is going to be a star at the NHL level. Someone who projects to be an elite #1 defenseman that can dominate at both ends of the ice. And for teams who didn't make the NHL playoffs this season, just know there's an excellent prize waiting to be claimed. Matthew Schaefer is, in my opinion, the best prospect in the 2025 NHL Draft. Schaefer has been projected to go at the #1 spot really since the first month of the season after he overtook James Hagens from Boston College. Michael Misa has a strong case to be made, but I simply find Schaefer is the most impactful player in all areas of the ice. He only played 17 games in the OHL this season after breaking his collarbone at the World Juniors, but from what he showed us in his limited amount of time, it was insanely impressive. So without further ado, let's get right into why Matthew Schaefer is going to be an absolute star on the blue line in the NHL. Schaefer has spent his junior career playing with the Erie Otters of the OHL. As a first overall pick in the 2023 OHL Draft by Erie, Schaefer was expected to be the leader that would help get the Otters back into contention for an OHL championship and a Memorial Cup. At 6'2" and 183 pounds, he's about average size for a defenseman. However, he's only 17 years old, and it wouldn't be surprising whatsoever to see him get stronger and put more weight onto his frame. As a rookie in the OHL, Schaefer showed some great signs of becoming a high-end prospect for the NHL Draft. He finished the season with 17 points in 56 games, but he really improved throughout the season in Erie. He also had 3 points in 6 playoff games, but where his play really stood out was on the international stage. Schaefer captained the Canadian U17 national team and recorded 4 points in 8 games. He also made the U18 national team, and his offense looked even better as he had 5 points in 7 games. Schaefer had proven that he could compete with the best prospects who were both his age and even older. Now, Schaefer is trusted to play 25+ minutes a night against the top competition. He really is a coach's dream because he plays so well at both ends of the ice. He is by every definition a two-way defenseman, and an unbelievable one at that. A little later in this video, we will cover exactly what it is in his skill set that makes him such a special talent at both ends of the ice. Now this season, we were really seeing Matthew Schaefer establish himself as an elite talent. He had 22 points in 17 games with Erie, and he also had himself a +21 rating. Now plus-minus isn't everything, but when you're that one-sided, it shows that you're not only good offensively, but your team has success in the defensive zone as well with you on the ice. The Otters finished as the 5th seed in the Western Conference, and you could tell they sorely missed Schaefer. The Otters were eventually swept in the second round of the playoffs by the London Knights, and unfortunately because of his injury, Schaefer did not suit up in the playoffs. The last we saw of him was at the World Junior Championship with Canada, and this is where he really established himself as the best prospect in the draft to many people. Schaefer had 2 points in 2 games, but he also looked like the best defenseman for Team Canada and arguably the best player overall. This was a Canada blue line that was admittedly missing some talent, Zane Parekh and Carter Yakimchuk, but still they had some elite talent with guys like Sam Dickinson and Tanner Molendyk, among others. It was clear, however, that Schaefer was a level above each of these players. What Schaefer showed at this level was his skating, and how truly elite it is. Like most of the NHL's very best prospects, Schaefer is an unbelievably smooth skater. It's the foundation of his game, and it allows him to create both offense, but also get himself into excellent defensive positioning. He's got the luxury of being able to jump up into a rush, yet also be the first person back to defend attackers. At the OHL level, Schaefer easily glides past opponents, which was to be expected coming into this season. But it's the fact that he can make even the toughest competition look like they have cement in their skates when playing that opens your eyes to his talent. Even against Team Finland, who had some elite junior players, Schaefer moved through the ice like it was nothing. Scouts around the NHL obviously took notice to his skating ability, and they thought it to be comparable to some insanely special NHL talents. According to Bob McKenzie, on multiple occasions, Schaefer had his skating ability compared to Scott Niedermayer and Miro Heiskanen. Some others compared him to Cale Makar, Rasmus Dahlin, Luke Hughes, Shea Theodore, and Zach Werenski, and no matter how you cut it, that's some pretty impressive comparables. It goes to show you that Schaefer is certainly making a great impression on NHL scouts around the league. But on top of his skating, Schaefer has excellent puck skills as well. When he's leading a rush, he's able to slice through defenders with his hands as well. He's got excellent anticipation, and that helps him find open spaces for himself and his teammates who have gotten their fair share of tap-ins from him. But on the more common plays like breakouts and stretch passes, Schaefer is just as effective. He's such a calming presence on the ice. You never seem to be worried about him making some big mistake that ends up in the back of his team's net. He can be both safe but also special, which is an incredibly important duality of a star player. His skating, frame, and mind make him an elite defensive player at the OHL level as well. Like players he was compared to, Schaefer is extremely talented with his gap control against the offense. He can keep up with the best forward skaters in the league, and that makes him incredibly hard to beat in a one-on-one scenario. When it comes to rush defense, he is as good as you could hope him to be at this stage in his development. He is a very active stick, and it's great for breaking up plays through the neutral zone as well as at his own blue line. His 22 points in 17 games are impressive on their own, but what makes it more impressive to me is that Schaefer did not sacrifice the defensive side of the puck. If Schaefer cheated on offense more, which he easily could at the OHL level, he easily could have been among the leading point scorers in the league. Obviously, this is also assuming he was healthy. He has the upside to be a legitimate number one defenseman that plays in every situation. He could be first over the board on the penalty kill while also being your team's power play quarterback. All of this while still being able to play nearly half the game every single night. He is an absolute machine. The only hesitancy I could see some teams having is the fact that he is coming off surgery to his collarbone. Now, I don't think this is any reason to have him fall to number 2, but if he does, I couldn't see any other reason as to why. I already discussed James Hagens and Michael Misa, but perhaps the only other prospect who could compete for the first overall position is Anton Frondell from Sweden. Almost all scouting outlets have Schaefer ranked number 1, but it isn't a true consensus decision for everybody. However, in terms of defensemen, there is a very, very large gap between Schaefer and the next best prospect. And considering there are a number of high-end forwards at the top of this draft, Schaefer will be a very coveted asset for any team in need of a D-man. The San Jose Sharks will have the best chance at the first overall pick, and I think Matthew Schaefer should and would be a no-brainer for them. He would be the perfect addition to their already impressive young core. The last time we saw a defenseman picked first overall was in 2021 when the Buffalo Sabres selected Owen Power. If I were a betting man, I would put everything I had on Schaefer breaking the 3-year drought this summer. Before Power, we had Dahlin in 2018, Ekblad in 2014, and Eric Johnson all the way back in 2006. In almost every case, the defenseman did not quite live up to the hype as the number 1 selection. Outside of Rasmus Dahlin, it would be pretty hard to justify taking any of these defenders with the first overall pick. Living up to expectations is something I am not worried about in the case of Matthew Schaefer, even if the track history tells me I otherwise should be. The skill set he possesses makes his floor very, very high in my opinion. Even if the offense never explodes at the NHL level, I would almost guarantee he can be at the very least an effective 45 to 50 point defender who is more than capable in his own end as well. But my expectations for him are that he can be a 65 to 75 point defenseman one day that is also trusted to shut down the opponent's best players. In terms of comparisons, I really like the Miro Heiskanen comparable as discussed by some of the scouts. Some people may forget that just a couple seasons ago, Heiskanen had 73 points in 79 games, while also playing elite in his own end. Schaefer is capable of being that kind of player for his team as well. With the way he plays the game and considering he has held leadership roles in his career so far, Schaefer screams of being a future captain in the NHL. Obviously, this largely depends on which team he ends up with, but the way he doesn't cheat the game is what persuades me to have this opinion. A captain sets an example and plays the game the right way. Schaefer, even as a 17-year-old, plays the game the right way. In fact, one compliment that he has gotten a lot is that he is more than willing to drive hard to the net to create chances. Unfortunately, we saw how this could backfire with his injury, but it should excite teams more than scare them because it shows the mentality that he has. I already mentioned San Jose, but other teams towards the bottom who are most likely going to be in the first overall sweepstakes would be the Chicago Blackhawks, Nashville Predators, Philadelphia Flyers, and Boston Bruins. The only team I could see considering a different option in this position would be the Chicago Blackhawks because they already have some excellent blue line prospects, while still lacking some high-end forwards. In every other case though, I think Schaefer would be the runaway option to be selected first overall, especially for a team like the Bruins and Predators, who have a weaker young core compared to some of the other bottom feeder teams. Getting the best available talent should be their goal. However, all of this discussion about his fit is hypothetical until we see the result of the 2025 NHL Draft Lottery. For whichever team gets the number 1 overall selection, their fan base will be, and rightfully so, over the moon. Especially if it is your team's GM announcing over their Zoom call that Matthew Schaefer is the newest member of your favorite team. So be ready, NHL fans, because Matthew Schaefer is coming and he is going to be an absolute force to be reckoned with at the NHL level. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you left it a like and subscribe to the channel. Also be sure to leave a comment down below about who you think the best prospect in the draft is, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.